to Boys Bible Study, and happy Easter to all of the faithful. Very special Sunday. It's Easter Sunday. He is risen. Can I get a "He is risen indeed" out there?
He is risen indeed.
He is risen indeed.
As always, I'm Ash. I am here with my co-hosts,
Scott
and Julian.
And today we have a very special guest. You hear her voice singing the outro on every single one of our podcasts. The song "Oh My God" by Mary is performed by Mary, and she is here. Welcome back, Mary.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you joined us the end of last year. We did a Halloween bonus episode on Hereditary.
Yes.
And we really appreciated your film knowledge and your insight. So we're looking forward to your perspective on this movie, Mary Magdalene, 2018 film.
What a movie!
Yeah, what a movie! But before we get into that, what are you working on right now? Any art projects, things like that?
Well, yeah, got some new music coming out.
Yes.
I have an EP that will come out at some point. We have a song that Ash, you produced.
It's true.
With the Oracle. I Need You is out, and we're gonna have a music video that was shot in the now defunct Fry's Electronics.
Yes.
So for all you Fry's heads out there, this is gonna be maybe your last chance to see one of the locations. We won't say which, but
it's true. Yeah, the upcoming Mary video for "I Need You" was filmed entirely illegally inside of Fry's Electronics, and I did help out with that, and we're really excited to show you. I also wanted to know something about you and your family's personal relationship to faith. I was curious if you would explain in your own words the Book of Enoch and what that means for you in your life.
Sure. So it is my understanding that the Book of Enoch is one of the lost books of the Bible, and it is a major element in my dad's belief system. And so as he has relayed it to me, basically there were a bunch of fallen angels who came down to earth, and then they were like, hey, look at these lovely, lovely human women, and they had sex with them. And then children were had that were half angel, half human, and so they were basically giants who walked the earth. And then that's basically the extent of what I know.
What is like the relation to giants and humans? Like, do you know what's their importance on Earth? Are they still among us? Like, what are they up to?
Well, it's like the the kind of like a Bigfoot kind of gets wrapped into it. Like it's like maybe Bigfoot is one of these things, but then it's like when I've talked to my dad about Bigfoot, he's like, oh no, that's some interdimensional shit. So so I do, but then he's kind of like, well, maybe it's one of these things. And then he also says, I'm like, oh my, like people will be like, oh, Bigfoot would never hurt you. That's kind of like the sentiment you hear with locals. And then, my dad's like, I wouldn't trust him, So he's not a good dude, or whatever the thing is,
Right.
like the interdimensional angel being that you don't want to
Right.
see.
Remember when they had Bigfoot in the freezer?
No.
When
was that?
No.
It's just like a Bigfoot freezer. It happened a few years ago.
I missed
In
that
the- what?
entirely.
And he was it was somebody had a Bigfoot costume and they put it in like a meat freezer, and like we caught Bigfoot. And it looks so
Oh
funny.
man, I was hoping it was real and we could find out if the Bigfoot was half angel or not.
Yeah.
Right.
23
Well,
and me.
yeah, I mean, I think we may never know, but yeah, so that's kind of I really should. I do have a copy of the Book of Enoch at home, so maybe I'll crack it open and read up next time you ask me.
Yeah. Is your family like Christian? Like, where did you grow up Christian?
Yeah, I grew up Christian. It was like a more extreme kind of sect as a child. Like we were like in a church that was like holy rollers that would do like tent revivals and like the missionary stuff, and it was like really turbo. And then it cooled off, and then now my dad doesn't go to church. Nobody goes to church, but my dad's still very religious.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of lost books of the Bible, the film we watched today is about a very important woman in the gospel. There is a lost gospel of Mary Magdalene that's around.
Yeah, I wish they would have lost this screenplay.
I brought up that gospel to my dad, and he was like, "No way."
The book
he was
of
like,
Enoch.
he was like, as if. He just gave me this look that was like, forget about it.
The book of Enoch flies, but not the book of Mary Magdalene.
You guys really should have him as a guest.
Oh my God, I would
Okay.
love to. Yeah,
I'm down.
That sounds great. We're going to cover House of Fallen with him. I just found out about it in the last 5 minutes. It's loosely based on the Book of Enoch.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. No, you
Yeah.
really should have him on. He also knew one of the people who directed. He was friends with one of the directors of one of the movies that you guys watched at some point.
Oh, that's
The
right.
Passion of the Christ.
Oh,
Yes, he's good friends with Mel Gibson, and that's something I just wanted everybody to know.
I remember though that what you meant, it was I'm in love with the church girl, right? I remember you saying that to me. Yeah,
And I spoke to that
Oh.
man on the phone once. So
Did you tell him that we did it? We did the podcast?
no. I spoke to him unfortunately like 10 years before you did that episode
Sure.
on the phone.
oh, you just forgot. Okay.
Yeah. That's cool that your family has such a personal connection to I fell in love with the church girl. But but today we brought you into Sunday school to watch this contemporary Christian film with us. It's called Mary Magdalene. It's from 2018. And this is sort of an interesting jump for us because last week on the pod, we watched Passion of the Christ. And this film, there are a lot of similarities. This is another Hollywood, this is a Christian adaptation that's much more in the Hollywood machine than a lot of the stuff we watch, which is more outsidery. This one also deals with the subject of Jesus' life, but in a much different way. Who are the major players on this film? Who in Hollywood is the driving force behind Mary Magdalene?
Well, we've got Joaquin Phoenix in the role of Jesus Christ, and we've got Rooney Mara in the titular role of Mary Magdalene, and then we have some other Hollywood faces in the mix as well. What was the Garth Brooks was the name of the director?
Close.
This is Chris Gaines.
It was
Chris
Garth
Gaines, yes, I'm
Davis.
sorry.
Garth
Garth
Davis.
Darth
Davis.
Davis. Darth Marenghi's Bible.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
I think that the fact that it's Joaquin Phoenix opposite Rooney Mara is a huge driving force in this film in so many ways. So it would be worth it to examine some of the context of their relationship, things like that.
Yes.
I guess I would start by saying what did we think of their performances in this film?
Throw him in the Dead Sea. DOA.
They'll float if we do that.
I couldn't help thinking how much more Joaquin Phoenix must have prepared to be the Joker than he did to prepare to be fucking Jesus Christ.
100%.
Yeah, and my thought was that there are just some roles you can't play, and there's not much you can do at a certain point. It's just not. You just aren't going to embody those characters no matter how hard you try.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix, especially both of them, but Jesus is just obviously such an important and daunting role for any actor. But Joaquin Phoenix made the same face when he was nailed to the cross that he did when he was just preaching.
Just just looking at people for that matter.
Right. He had his very strange glare on, his very severe face, which, I love a man with a severe face, but it was just absolutely for me impossible to lose him in this role. It was just watching Joaquin Phoenix, you know?
Yes. In undyed linens.
Yes, very much so. In fact, I think we should, after this, spend some time on like the aesthetics of this movie and stuff like that. But what about Rooney Mara? Like, what do we think about her? How did she do in this?
Very strange accent.
Yeah,
Strange look on her face for all
Strange
of it.
expression. Glamorous hair.
Yeah. Her acting really does just roll right into the aesthetic, I gotta say. She was doing like aesthetic acting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say so too. It was just like, it was very strange because we have two, famous actors who are like famously in a relationship with each other, and they were during this movie.
Before this even shot.
Right.
So
Oh,
I wonder
really?
if it was a package deal.
Yeah.
Oh, like she was like, okay, I'll be Mary Magdalene. She's like, but here's the catch. Joaquin has to be Jesus.
Well, that could have been it. I
yeah,
mean,
maybe.
I don't know this for a fact, but I just noticed in the credits, like one of the like thank yous was listed as Rooney Mara, like one of the director's like thank yous. I mean, that could have been for many reasons, but it made me wonder if like she was a poll for, maybe his casting or stuff like that. It was like a reason they could take this film and still like be together and stuff like that.
You star in the movie and you get a special thanks.
Yeah, right.
And you get paid
Yeah,
millions of
that's so
bucks to be in the
Right.
movie.
And then you get thanked on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, pure speculation on my part, but
And likely got to stay in a beautiful hotel room in Rome
right.
every night, retire
Yes.
to your fabulous Rome life.
Hmm.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
But yeah, she did really blend into the strange vibe of this movie. Like she did have the same tonal energy as like the weird fabrics or the weird landscapes, which obviously we'll talk about at some point. But
Yeah, well, she's just like an interesting case study because now I don't know much about her. I feel like the three of you know more about like actors and actresses than I do, but from what I understand from just like our discussion during the film, she's like a rich woman who became an actress, right? Like she's that type of actor. Like, I don't know. I put her in like an Army Hammer type category.
she's definitely an Army Hammer type
She eats
of
people.
actor.
Yeah.
And insofar as she's interested in cannibalism in her sexual life, allegedly.
We're alleging on this
Well, actually,
podcast.
Allegedly, that's what I heard about Rooney Mara.
She's vegan.
Well, that's what makes it really interesting.
well, yeah, that's something I was gonna say is like actually, I mean, quite the opposite because
She's named after the band Rooney.
well, because I noticed I looked at her Wikipedia and like
Named
when I
after
see
Principal Rooney.
when I see this sentence at the beginning of someone's Wikipedia, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but like my as you would say, Mary, my bullshit meter just goes off. And
Mhm.
it says Rooney Mara is an American actress and animal rights activist.
That's something you tell your agent, like, get on my Wikipedia right now and
Yes.
change it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like animal rights activist is up there with mental health advocate in
And
that
jewelry designer.
it sounds nice.
Philanthropist.
There's nothing right like philanthropist. There's nothing,
Something wrong with
with
making
it.
jewelry.
No. Technically not, but like I see it and I'm like, something's going on here. According to her wiki, Mara is known for her charity work and oversees the Uweza Foundation, which supports empowerment programs for children and families in the Kibera slum of Nairobi. She's also the founder of the vegan clothing line Hiraeth Collective.
Wow, what a title for a clothing company.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she's married to Joaquin Phoenix, but obviously she's in a relationship
They're
with Joaquin
engaged.
Phoenix. So I will buy that she's an animal rights activist because I think that Joaquin Phoenix is an animal rights activist or
Yeah.
something. Does this
I
make
think he's
does
pretty
this make sense?
famously vegan. Not like outspoken.
He wears ALF sweatshirts a lot.
That's a dead giveaway of a secret cannibal. You're covering it up.
Wait, hold on. Does adrenochrome count as like, is that vegan? Is there like some sort of synthesized adrenochrome?
They would be the exact kind of person who could tell you.
Right. Well, it was interesting because like, not to jump too far ahead, but like there was actually a moment in the film that was not supposed to be like this, but I couldn't help but get a vibe from it. But like, there's a scene toward the end that depicts the famous story of Jesus in the temple, and he notices like money being exchanged around. He notices people buying and selling things.
It is written that my house shall be a house of prayer for all nations.
As you see.
This is a marketplace. A place to buy God's forgiveness with a dove or a lamb.
The people need to make their sacrifices, as they've always done, as God demands of us.
And does God demand that this is how the people should show their true repentance? God's kingdom is not to be bought and sold!
And he notices people buying animals for sacrifices. And in the movie, it's like you see Joaquin Phoenix's like glare and he's looking around at all of these like goats and like people with like blood on their aprons and stuff. And like, I know, mostly just because I know the Bible story, but like I know that was supposed to be like he's upset because he sees goods and services being exchanged. But
yes.
I couldn't help but read that as this like vegan statement.
Definitely. Because I think it's like they showed the animals being sacrificed first. And
Right.
so, and then you see his disgusted face, and then they show the money, and then it's about the animals and the money. You know what I mean? But at first, you're right. It really seems like it's like he's like, they are killing these lambs.
Right.
What the fuck? But obviously, that was commonplace.
Of course. Yeah. I just thought that was weird,
Joaquin definitely was like, had his paws all over this one. He said, you have to put that shot first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And probably Rooney did as well. But yeah, in the Bible, it's pretty clear that what Jesus is upset about is that they're turning the temple into a marketplace.
Yeah. And like that wasn't the only scene that kind of like read very ambiguously in this film as far as how it interpreted the Bible. So again, we have them driving really the tone of this movie. Also notable, composer Johan Johansson did the score for this. What?
I know he's passed on, but that is such a stupid name.
He's Icelandic. He can't help it.
I know. Why do they do that?
That's their naming structure. It's just the way it goes.
You can make fun of them. They just have like a perfect utopia.
So his name's a little repetitive. So's the score. It works out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, don't even notice the score. I only noticed it once you brought attention to it.
Yeah, there was just this moment when they're like walking down like an idyllic hillside and like a soft like piano chord plays, and I was like, oh, just shut the fuck up. I don't want to deal with this shit, man. All this fucking minimal, like pretty bullshit. What do we think of this film in general? I honestly have some really strong words for it.
It's a shitty perfume ad.
It's trying to be like the Jesus Tree of Life, but like, I don't know. I like Tree of Life, but this is just fucking boring.
Yeah.
Everybody's always whispering.
I do too. I like Tree of Life a lot.
Because it had dinosaurs and a meteor and, it felt like you were watching something happen. This was just boring.
And there was nothing emotional even. I mean, I felt literally nothing throughout this movie.
Yes.
Unlike Richard Jewell, a movie which
Agreed.
made me feel lots of things.
We're wasting our time with Jesus. We got to start the Church of Richard Jewell.
Church of Richard Jewell.
Another guy who was dragged through the mud. Just tried to save us.
This movie was just an aesthetic. That was the whole thing. Like, I really felt like, I did not see Richard Jewell recently, as two of you did, but I did just last night see this movie, Ogroff, aka The Mad Mutilator, and it was kind of similar in that they had a much lower budget for that movie. It's in a French movie from either the late 70s or early 80s that was shot on Super 8, but it's all kind of like in the same type of field surrounding, and you don't really know what's going to happen next, and everything sort of looks the same, and there's this like wonky synth score that just sort of carries you through everything, and it really feels like you're just dropped into a world and just kind of looking around and like, weird. And that's how this movie was too, except not even weird. You're just like sitting in it and you're like, okay, I'm inside the commercial. How long is this? That was how this movie felt.
Very commercial vibes, very Gwyneth Paltrow-y.
Very goopy.
Like,
Yeah, it was the goop
clean
palette. Very clean beauty, very
Minimal,
Sephora.
very white.
Very white.
And we talk about too with Bible Times movies that we cover on this podcast. Normally comes up that all the costumes are very clean, but this was so clean. Everybody was so clean.
They're like pressed.
Yes.
It was like they were at a spa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mary Magdalene did not have like a hair out of place on her head at any point in the movie.
She had barrel curls at the crucifixion.
Yes.
She had tousled waves at the crucifixion.
She looked like she was about to walk onto a CW show and they hadn't figured out yet whether she was going to be a teen or a mom of a teen.
I mean, the Passion was a place to see and be seen.
This movie, like the word that kept coming to mind for me was neoliberal, and I mean that in like a purely aesthetic sense. Like, this movie had everything from the like classy white like sans serif fonts that just like came up like 5 times in the film just to say like Road to Jerusalem, just delicately in the middle of the screen while it showed, our cast, just slowly processing down this like dirt road in an idyllic Italian mountainside. And yeah, everything was like white and tan with like, the green of plants. It was a movie in color, but it felt like there was no color in the movie. Like, I don't understand why this new type of like well shot, like beautifully shot digital movies just feel so fucking like empty and hollow.
Flavorless.
Yeah, like how is this possible?
So bland looking.
Because they're all always just like trying to find the sunset in the background.
Right.
Right.
That's like all it is.
It did really feel like a tax write-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because this is this guy's second movie and his first movie was like really critically acclaimed. And he obviously was able to do whatever he wanted in this one, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like the money men. It's like they're like, hey, we kind of got, we know that nobody's going to watch this movie, which is good because it's like the producers. So if it loses money, that means we make money. See what I'm saying here? He's like, they're like, check this out. Nothing happens. Even like Jesus Christ is crucified and you go, meh, know.
Yes.
Yawn.
They're like, nobody's going to see this movie. We're about to make millions, boys.
Right.
We'll shoot it all outside. We don't even need a lighting department.
No sets.
Yeah, it was also supposed to be like, I think, empowering in it, making like Mary the lead and sort of trying to tell a story of like her influence on the teachings of Jesus. But it was like so hollow in that department and totally not geared towards the people who would need to see a message like that. Like, I'm not entirely sure like what audience this was for other than just like, I don't know, rich art house people.
Yeah, this movie was one of those fucking coffee shops with the tan wood tabletops, the metal stools on the white floors, like tons of plants everywhere. Or, not even like steel stools, like benches that you sit on, and somehow that's supposed to be like luxurious, even though you have no back support. And like there's like a neon sign that says like love or something, and it's like
Or like
You're
You
just
Go Girl or
describing a
something.
blue bottle.
I've never
coffee
been
down the
inside.
street.
I've never been inside there. I don't drink coffee, so I've literally never even been inside most LA coffee shops. But like, this is just like this is living in LA. I mean, I'm sure probably every other major gentrified city in America too. But it's just like all of these places, like
That was the vibe of the movie. They were gentrifying the Gaza Strip.
yeah,
By shooting it in Italy.
Yeah, that was
Right.
the other thing.
Yeah.
One of you pointed out how this movie was very clearly shot in Italy, which has been used historically in Hollywood for decades as a backdrop for so many movies. You know, westerns, obviously, anything. And somehow I feel like most of the times when I watch, one of those, maybe 70s movies in Italy or whatever, I'm not thinking about the fact, oh yeah, this is clearly Italy. But this film, it was like a tourist, video, like advertising travel to Italy. It was
Definitely.
it was very strange. It looked like Italy.
And the types of trees and stuff. Yeah, it was like all of these plants, all of the kind of shrubs were just so Italian. It just really, and even this, obviously the buildings and everything in the movie just felt like it felt like it was like in the wrong time period or something. And then their costumes ended up reading more Star Wars.
Right.
And like fashion than like like the one girl was wearing a shift dress. Like she was wearing an adorable dress. It had like a keyhole cutout. It was like the cutest thing ever, but it didn't quite take me to biblical times in my mind.
It would have been cool if there were like some pop-ups during the movie that could show me where I could buy different clothing items that they're wearing.
Well, if you tapped on your screen, you could see all the accounts.
Yeah, all the brands that were tagged. I just like, to me, the movie didn't feel like art. It felt like design. And that's how I feel like so much shit is nowadays, at least in this particular type of aesthetic that like I'm trying to identify now. If for lack of a better word, like, neoliberal aesthetic or like gentrifier aesthetic or whatever you want to call it. But it's like,
gendercore.
Yeah. Like, it's like, it's just, it feels like just such a collective, like psyop to me that like, when did everyone get together and decide that like, this is what is beautiful for the world? Like tan.
Yeah.
Right. It's so drained of any fun or passion or kind of like libido or something. There's just like absolutely nothing to even witness. It was
it's corporate.
it was like looking at nothing. Bloodless.
Yeah, it was like 95% white people in the movie. And like the weird attempts at diversity was to have like a handful of black people in the movie. But other than that,
and
everybody
a
was
movie
like
star looking.
Yeah.
Like top fashion model.
Yeah. Anybody with the least bit prominent character definitely lives in Los Angeles and is a Hollywood actor.
I think part of it was shot in Los Angeles.
Wow.
It's possible.
I could see the Hollywood sign in the background.
Jesus was nailed to the H of the Hollywood sign. That was pretty crazy.
Whoa.
That would be actually a fucking good movie. No one steal
When we kind of
that.
throw our hats in the ring for the biblical movie, that's absolutely going to be a major set piece.
Yeah. He'll be adding the last letter to the Hollywood sign. That'll be the big reveal.
It says Hollywood
Joe
Plus.
Borowski style.
Hollywood Plus. It says Hollywood Plus. Lana Del Rey, I know you're listening. If you fucking steal this, I'm going to be so mad at you. God
We're going to be so pissed, bitch. We'll fucking know.
I'll go over to fucking Hillsong Church and slap the shit out of you, girl.
Dear God.
Lana Del Rey should have been Mary Magdalene in this.
Oh my God.
That's the vibe.
Unironically, that would have made this movie 200 times better.
It
And
would
the
have
cop
banged.
guy,
It would have fucking rocked.
the hot cop guy can play Jesus. Is she still dating that guy?
No, they broke up.
Oh man,
Yeah.
because he's a centurion.
Yeah. So actually, Julian brought up the casting, which we already talked about Joaquin and Rooney, but like, let's definitely dive in a little bit more on like the casting and the look of the personnel in this film. Also, we could talk about like what other biblical characters we do see. But I wanted to reiterate Julian's point that one could not help but notice like the race of the actors in this film, and it was white people and a couple black people in what seemed to be like a diversity poll. And the only reason that like I even feel the need to like look at it that cynically was because like it just it looked weird to have these like
it called attention to itself.
It did. It was like American racial diversity. It was like American actors,
Right.
American racial diversity being like set into this like, biblical story where like everyone's Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah, totally shoehorned. Like,
In a movie written by two white people and directed by a white Australian guy.
Yeah.
And it's just like when it felt like the kind of movie
Garth
where
Brooks.
like a historical movie. It felt like one of those historical art movies where they're like, oh, we won't do like the language of the place or the accents because you really want to focus on the story.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also like, we also won't care about the race of the actors because we want you to focus on the story. And we won't care about any details about it.
But then they had all had different accents anyway.
Yeah.
yes.
They're like, just doing it, just pick one, just do an accent.
Yeah, it
Try to
felt
stick
like
to it.
some sort of like just avant-garde type approach to a historical movie, but then it just like really amplifies its failings and like just whitewashing of history.
It was no Andy Warhol film, that's for sure.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't just a 24-hour shot of Jesus's ass or something.
Yeah,
like
40 feet of film. Step on me, please.
Or it's all 3 days in the cave while Jesus is dead.
Oh, that's
That would be a
fucking
good one.
sick.
That will be sick. Again, you guys, we've had so many good movies about how we could do this better.
Yes,
Or
absolutely.
movies about how we could do this better.
In the last 15 minutes, we've come up with like 3 solid like avant-garde of Bible Times films, and it really just goes to show just like the lack of imagination in this one. But we do see, so from Bible Times, again, this movie is about Mary Magdalene and Jesus, and their relationship is the guiding focus of this whole film. Not sexual relationship. I know what you're thinking. Everyone's like, did Mary Magdalene and Jesus fuck? The answer, no, they did not. I will not hear any
Not
other
even
word on
just the
this.
tip, Ash.
Not at all. Jesus would never do something like that.
And you said you were going to turn this movie the fuck off.
I was legitimately
if they fucking fucked at any point in this movie. You said this, I'm out.
Yes,
But what happened?
Well, so first of all, I that wasn't really in my mind when we started, because I was like, oh yeah, Mary Magdalene, it'll be about Mary Magdalene. And then when the movie started and it was clear that Mary Magdalene was supposed to be like a nasty woman, I was like, if I swear to God, if she and Jesus like even so much as kiss, like we're not doing the podcast.
I fucked.
That is true. They did do that, and I thought that was highly inappropriate. But
Them falling in love in real life on film for this movie made it 100 times worse. Like, and normally when that happens, you're like, wow, I can't believe they captured this moment and like it's being utilized for the characters. But that's like the opposite of the story that's being told here. This story is that it's like Jesus saw Mary Magdalene as an equal, and she is an apostle in this story, and she is in an extremely privileged position, unlike other tellings or whatever.
Right, which I can see the virtue in that kind of telling. I mean, there's no doubt, according to the Gospels, that like Mary Magdalene was present with Jesus during some of the most important moments in the Gospel. She was famously among the first to see him resurrected, which is true, and she told the rest of the disciples who didn't immediately believe her. But it was very interesting to see how that played out in this film was given this very kind of like mainstream, like late 2010s liberal feminist look. Like what was the log line? It was like 12 men heard Jesus' teaching, but one woman
It was
understood
12
it.
men heard and spread the message of Jesus. Only one woman understood it.
Yep.
And that's mostly, and I might as well read the last 3 title cards that they end the movie with.
Please.
After fading out on a close up of her blank stare, just like looking into nothing. According to Christian Gospels, Mary of Magdala was present at both Jesus' death and burial and is identified as the first witness to the resurrected Jesus.
True.
In 591, Pope Gregory claimed that Mary of Magdala was a prostitute, a misconception which remains to this day.
Boo.
In 2016, Mary of Magdala was formally identified by the Vatican as Apostle of the Apostles. Yes, girl boss. Their equal and the first messenger of the resurrected Jesus.
You know what I'm just realizing this reminded me of? The end of Gotti. At the end of Gotti, when
I still haven't seen it.
It's good. It's pretty tedious, but it was good considering just like how weird it was for its time. But like this is a bit of a spoiler, but it doesn't really affect the movie too much. But the movie ends with title cards that like it becomes very clear by the end that the movie is just like trying to exonerate John Gotti Jr. And like the end of the movie is like. It basically, like, I don't remember the exact statistics, but it's like it gets really like letter to the editor at the end, and it's very like John Gotti Jr. was put through hell by like the United States government, and like he's just like a man trying to take care of his family, and it's like, whoa, what the hell? Like it's like he was
like making this plea at the end.
You know, it really was. It was like it felt very like paid for by his family. I'm pretty sure that people who knew him or were related to him had something to do with the production, but it was just like, it was just a very biased and heroic biography of him. And
it's also really funny to put title cards like that at the end, both in Gotti and here in Mary Magdalene, because it's like the title cards are obviously the initial premise they have that they want to tell through the movie. And then after 2 hours, they're like, well, we didn't really pull it off, so we'll just put the title cards up at the end.
They literally could have told us, they could have told the story of her name being smeared, or they could have like, but like none of the, like, that's such a astute observation. It also, something I want to just add is that, in some ways, both Mary Magdalene and Richard Jewell are victims of the media.
True.
Word.
You know, I think it's very unfair what they've done to Mary Magdalene. Personally.
He was falsely accused of being the bomber.
And the Catholic Church has labeled him as a prostitute as well.
Yeah, and like, you know, the whole movie, like, again, going with this like liberal feminist angle, like, yeah, I mean, I think it's like, it's without a doubt that Mary Magdalene is like an important figure in the Bible and like, you know, with Jesus, and like, you know, whether or not she was like formally an apostle, I think is like besides the point. I don't think there's anyone who studies the Bible who wouldn't like deny Mary Magdalene's importance. But like,
right,
the strange agenda of this movie, like there was so many moments like she was like in the beginning of the movie, they told this just completely just like out of nowhere story of like her in some sort of like arranged relationship and her like not wanting to marry this man. And they're like, she's like, I will not marry Ephraim. I'm not made for this. And everyone like whispers throughout the whole movie.
It's like a yin yang twins concert.
Listen, you pray at the service with the other women. You pray at home with your family. But you don't just run into the night like some wandering lunatic.
I can't marry Ephraim. I'm not made for that life.
Then what on earth are you made for? You want me to bind your breasts and shave your head? So you can become a man?
She's like, Jesus, what's up?
And Jesus is like, I don't even know what I'm going to do next, Mary.
She's like, but just do it.
And like, yeah, so so she gets out of this like arranged marriage when she sees Jesus and she starts following him, and like the disciples have to like hold back her like angered father, who's like, "What, Mary, you've gone mad." And she runs away with Jesus and his disciples, and everything along the way she handles with perfect skin, perfect hair, such grace. Like that scene when like the disciples
single tears.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And like that
Just
scene when like
gorgeous.
they find like the lepers or whatever in this like building, and like Jesus has just in the previous scene like raised a man, ostensibly Lazarus, from the dead. And like in the next scene they find like Peter and Mary Magdalene find some like sick people in a building, and Peter's like, "There's nothing we can do." And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you're walking with this guy who all he does is like raise people from the dead. Like, and Mary's like, "We have to help them." It's just so deranged to me.
She's like, "Come with me."
Mary
She's like, "Come with me." She's like, "Don't you want to go to my hotel? Like, please come with me. No, come."
Mary was doing the whole Mary Magdalene voice as Lindsay Lohan's fake
Habibi,
Arabic accent.
Habibi.
Can we all agree that this movie would have been exceptionally better starring Lindsay Lohan?
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way.
Without
who
doubt.
crucified
Yeah,
me.
without a doubt.
We'd probably be rewatching it right now.
Yes. Like, think about it. She's a woman who was unfairly smeared in the media, called a
The
common
Richard Jewell of
prostitute.
Hollywood.
Yes.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And think about okay, yeah, so think about like the Paul Schrader Canyons approach to the Mary Magdalene story.
I
Starring
would fucking watch that movie.
starring
Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Garth Davis should have directed this whole thing naked.
They would be fucking in that version for sure.
Rated NC-17. It's Paul Schrader.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. That sounds very plausible. But yeah, what else we got in this film? I did want to bring up the portrayal of Judas in this movie. I thought was also very interesting. For me, that was interesting because one, he was super hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Quite hot.
You just knew he was up to something.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to pull some shit the second he was on screen and they were like, "Hey, Judas."
Well, like it was just
Always rubbing his hands together and like peeking behind trees,
Asking
peeking behind
people to
bushes, peeking
borrow
behind
30
rocks.
silver, 30 pieces of silver. Always trying to borrow 30 pieces of silver from somebody.
yeah. Well,
They
it
should
was-
have lent it to him.
Yeah.
Look what
It
happens.
would have all been solved if they had just let him borrow some money.
well, it was
Yep.
it was interesting in this film because like he, first of all, like I didn't really know, who he was supposed to be. I don't know. He looked really smiley. He looked just like, it was very strange.
None of the characters were obvious.
No.
Like who was who. I literally looked it up in the middle of the movie and was like, okay, which one's
He
which?
introduced himself as an animal rights activist.
Yeah. Oh, it's worth noting too that Chiwetel Ejiofor was Peter. Like
Right.
he's a very good actor and also just had a random accent like everybody else.
Yes. Yeah, everyone was doing a completely different accent.
No one was set up to succeed here.
No.
Um
Not even
there
the
was just-
audience.
not even the audience. I'm never gonna believe Joaquin Phoenix is Jesus. I'm never gonna believe that Principal Rooney Mara is Mary Magdalene. It's like they just don't sell it
Absolutely not.
at any point.
No, yeah,
No.
I was saying she was talking like somebody like a junior at the new school or something like that. That was like what her voice reminded me of in the movie when she first
has,
spoke.
like-
I was honestly shocked when she first spoke because the whole beginning of the movie was like severe looking men like doing some kind of accent. I don't even know what accent it was supposed to be, like Israeli or Middle Eastern or whatever. I'm not sure. But then she talks and she's just like, like, do you ever just like go underwater and try to hold your breath? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh my God.
Brothers and I used to see how long we could hold our breath into the water in the lake. How deep into the weeds we could swim. I loved it down there. It was like I didn't need my body, I didn't need the earth. And then I would rise up into the air, into the light. Is that what it feels like to be one with God?
No one has ever asked me how it feels.
Don't tell anybody.
And then counterpoint, we have Joaquin Phoenix. Just like it's like he was just a random dude on Venice Beach who just got really stoned, and somehow that made him time travel, and he just like got dropped into a middle of people and then just started like spitting. He just continued his sentence from who he was talking to.
Yeah.
Just carried on about his philosophies, which they had never heard anything like that before, so they're totally entranced.
You recite your psalms and present your sacrifices as if your hearts and spirits, your service to God, were what? And afterwards you go back to your lives and do what pleases you, what suits you, what makes the days upon this earth pass easily for you, like dreamers. But wake up, Magdalene.
And it got him crucified.
Yeah, he should have shut up when they told him to. Not a lot of, once again, not a lot of stuff that Jesus did in this movie that really got him crucified. Just still some more of like, oh yeah, he's the son of God. Apparently that's against the law. Feel like they're missing some stuff, missing some important stuff. I don't think you're going to get killed. I don't think you get executed by the state for breathing into somebody's ear and making them wake up from a nap.
Right, which was really how they depicted like him raising Lazarus from the dead. That scene was fucking strange.
It was weird. He was like physically exerting himself. Oh, okay, can you guys tell me, does it say anything about Jesus physically exerting himself when he's performing miracles?
No, absolutely not.
No.
No, because
fucking
it's
Chad.
effortless. Because it's in cooperation with God.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like when in like Harry Potter, when they like, you know, Harry Potter and Voldemort like go at it with the wands or whatever, and they're like, or so, right, lightsabers, right? That's another time that's like, we're doing it. You know, the Force, right? They're like, come over here.
That's all the Marvel movies now are like whoever can point at the other person and make a face like they're taking a big dump is the winner of the is the winner of the movie.
Right, and it was just
What the fuck?
right. It was just so strange, like the way they tried to humanize Jesus like that. Like the intent, like the way they read that made it seem as if it was he had some sort of superhero power rather than him.
Yeah,
being the human manifestation of God.
Act like you've been there before, Jesus.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, my dude.
And not to, you know, bang on this drum again, but do we think the filmmakers and the writers are believers?
Didn't seem like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
They're probably Catholic or something. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe they were raised Catholic or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it seems like sure they had a religious background enough, but they're real. Like to me, like if anyone took this movie really seriously, it was to promote like a feminist agenda.
Right.
When I say that, I sound like fucking Rush Limbaugh or something, but like I just like
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it felt like trying to like stick it to Christian people who are like women's places in the kitchen.
Right.
Right. It's misguided.
But it's just like, well, you're not really. It's just like felt
Who are you
very much
talking
like
to?
they're patting themselves on the back.
Yeah, and it was so shoehorned in at the end too, because then all of a sudden there were all these other young women who I guess were following Mary, and it was like, where the fuck do they come from?
They squatted up, dude. They were like nasty boss sees nasty boss.
Yeah, it was exactly like the music video for Bad Blood by Taylor Swift. Except actually, it wasn't at all. It was so much. I mean, that would have at least been like hammy and like sort of fun, I guess. I don't know. It was really just like, oh, I guess that's where you're going with this.
She inspired women, I guess.
Here's a point here's a contemporary point of comparison. Mary Magdalene is a nasty woman, and Jesus' disciples were his basket of deplorables. Remember that one, yo? Remember that one? We had fun. We had fun, didn't we?
Yeah. Basket of deplorables.
Do you remember that one? We had a lot of fun.
I sure do.
Julian's getting to you over there.
I'm just trying to, take out Agent Orange in the White House with these podcasts.
I honestly think, if Mary Magdalene had been in the White House, then like things would have turned out a lot differently.
Yeah, well, watching this movie, it would have to be the freaking beige house with how they colored everything.
That's true. Yeah. So, we're talking about this on Easter, and, obviously Easter is like a very important holiday because it marks the resurrection of Jesus.
Is
and
risen.
He is risen. And, we do see Jesus rise in this film, but like, how did that resurrection feel to everyone here? I'm just curious.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, they were like, you'll never believe who's here, Mary. And he was like, gotcha.
It is easily the least climactic reveal of Jesus being alive again I've ever seen or heard of in my entire life.
Yes.
It was so low key.
Look, audience, listeners, Patreons, we get what they were going for with this movie. So if you're looking at clips and you're like, this movie looks pretty.
Yeah.
It was shot on a very nice camera, but it really does suck. It's not a good movie.
No.
see for yourself,
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
It has all the trappings of like a good movie. Because I feel like, you could watch this movie and be like, oh, the anticlimactic thing was the point. But it's really just like soulless. It's not just like, oh, where it's like muted for effect. It's just like totally uninspired.
Absolutely.
And just like simulacrum of an actual like meaningful story.
Yeah. And so many movies nowadays are like that, in my opinion. It's like, it's just, we brought this up before, but all aesthetic. If you squint and look at it, it looks like a good movie. And then when you're done, it's just like, oh yeah, that was good.
Wait, I just remembered the smile that they exchange after he is risen.
Yeah.
That Julian, you said it was like they just pulled off the heist of the century.
Yeah, it was such a
weird
look
face
to
they
each
made
other.
at
They
each
like
other.
laughed. They like laughed together. Like,
They
I can't
laughed about
believe. Can
it.
you believe the week we've had?
Yeah.
No, we're still here.
The craziest summer I ever had.
Yeah.
It's so the wrong vibe. After all that fucking movie too,
It's
of
like a
everybody
meat cute.
walking around doing nobody in this biblical world does jack shit. They just stand around.
Yeah, they sit on a hillside.
That's
Or walk.
like a 10,000 foot in the air hillside where they all live and
There's no
don't have
water
any shelter
anywhere.
or food or water.
No.
Yeah. At any point in the movie.
There are no animals except for the sacrifices. Like there are literally no animals.
Right.
She hugged a goat at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, okay. Wait,
But
but
that
then
was it.
also I noticed that like when it was implied that like she got like her ass kicked by the Romans or whatever, they only showed one Roman. Like
Yeah,
they didn't
that's
even
really
like
funny.
make it a whole tableau where you kind of like have context. They were like, just get one guy, that's
Yeah.
one costume, and then we're good.
And she like runs and gets punched in the face real quick and then just cut to black.
And
It's
then she's
such
like
a
fine
cheap
later.
workaround for
Like,
low budget.
Yeah, notably, she did finally have one tiny blemish on her forehead because of that, which we all noted right away. And then it cut to Judah's face and then cut back and it was gone.
It was just gone.
it was
Like
gone.
3 seconds of imperfection on her face.
They were like, but Rooney's so pretty without the bruise. Just forget it. Just forget it. Let's just look at her.
It felt like it was like a present to Rooney Mara. Like the whole movie was just made to be like her friend or something.
Probably one final discussion question before we move into maybe our ratings of the film, unless anyone has something to bring up. But what I wanted to end talking about is how does this compare to Passion of the Christ? Because, we just saw that last week. Not going to lie, my feeling when I saw that, I was like, this movie blows. Now I saw this movie, I was like, Passion of the Christ rocks.
Bring back Passion of the Christ.
Yes. It had fire. It had passion. It had a direction. It took risks. It felt alive,
So Passion of the Christ, I agree. Passion of the Christ was a lot like Lord of the Rings, like knocking off it in a kind of obvious way, which made us roll our eyes. However, this was a lot like Lord of the Rings in that there were just very grand, big shots of people walking without any of the fun or energy that comes with that.
Yes.
So it wasn't even
No
eye
energy.
roll worthy. It was just like my eyes glazing over, staring past the computer screen.
It was like a Terrence Malick movie if it was made of all the stuff that the studio makes him cut from the movies.
Exactly. Yeah, at a certain point I was like, I'm going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Because I have to admit, I brought my computer into my bed while we were watching it,
sure.
and I was getting a little sleepy.
Sure. Yeah. A damn shame because again, this is like the most iconic, historical, like fable, epic, whatever you want to call it. This is a legend, a human legend that still persists to this day. And is mined for, so many works. And you just would think with all the money and Hollywood talent and like all these people that they would be, able to come up with something that felt a little passionate, but they simply did not.
Money can't buy a class.
It's very
True.
It's very true.
Oh man, they should have had what's her name be Mary Magdalene?
Luann, Countess Luann.
Yes, Countess Luann.
Can you imagine? She would honestly fucking rock that shit, right? Like she could she could act way better than Rooney Mara did.
Oh yeah.
Fucking no more of these movies.
No more. No,
no more.
She's lost her privileges. She doesn't.
Countess Luann at least knows we want to be entertained.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like Rooney Mara is just like, you get to see me. You're welcome.
Pretty much. She's like, Jesus, what the fuck? She just has this funny voice that doesn't make sense in biblical times. And then it kind of is like, Habibi.
What are you
She's
doing
somewhere
on the
between
street?
those two impressions.
What are you doing with this child on the street?
She's like, but I have a hotel room. Please, Habibi. Jesus said, don't die.
Well, what would we I think that it's time to give Mary Magdalene the official Boys Bible Study rating. What did we think of this movie? Boys,
Give it
and
5 Habibis way up. I don't even know what that means.
I'm giving this beautifully shot movie a $1,000 gift card to Sephora.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. And I guess I'll do my rating for the film will be 10 yards of muslin fabric from out of 10 yards of muslin fabric from Joann's.
Beautiful.
Fabrics.
I've got to say, I think that Mary Magdalene 2018 was, you know, a prime example of like neoliberalism's gripping influence, just squeezing the lifeblood out of our culture. I think it sucked major dick. I'm going to give it 1 out of 1 semester abroad in Italy. I think this is a perfect movie in every way. And I'm really happy that the dynamite Hollywood team of Rooney Mara and Joaquin Phoenix was able to deliver us this masterpiece.
Amen.
Do you think he's fun to hang out with or no?
Joaquin?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hell yeah, dude.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think sometimes I like read things where he's trying to be like serious and like pretend he's like above Hollywood and stuff, and it just kind of like, it's not like as bad as Jim Carrey, but
Yeah.
it's like that same kind of thing where it's like, dude, you get out more.
Yeah.
It's like Jim.
Oh, I hate Hollywood
put down
so
the
much.
paintbrush, pal.
I'll have to be in 15 more movies.
I think Joaquin Phoenix is talented enough that it really speaks to the direction of this movie for
Right.
how all over the place the performances are and how flat they all are.
That's very true.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like I love Joaquin Phoenix in like most movies. It's like, and I love Rooney Mara and Carol. So it's definitely,
Right,
I think we can blame Garth Brooks for this one.
Yeah, we didn't really levy enough pain on Garth Davis, our director of this film. No libel on Garth Brooks, who's made some.
Who was not associated.
Standing outside the fire. How about I stand outside the movie theater while this is playing?
Did this make it to theaters, y'all?
I would assume so, right? 2018.
Yeah, I assume.
It's played somewhere. It played. You know, you actually, Mary, while we were watching, you called this a Lamley movie, which
Lemley Playhouse, you know, Pasadena Playhouse 8
right
kind of film.
You know, that's a specifically Los Angeles reference, but you know, for us that means like a movie that screens at this very particular type of theater that, like, you know, plays like mid-budget like arty movies or even just like vanity projects that directors like pay to screen for a week so they can get nominated for an Oscars. It's like that type of film.
The Fort Wayne Cinema Center.
Sure.
Yeah, our listeners are probably more familiar with that.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, Mary, I'm so grateful that you could come back on the show and you know, talk with us about your namesake, Mary Magdalene. Actually, wait, are you named after Mary Magdalene or Mary Mother or neither?
I am. I've taken my name after the Virgin Mary,
Yes,
as it were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes,
but no
that makes
disrespect
sense.
to Mary Magdalene.
Right.
Go off.
Go off, Queen.
She's already been disrespected enough in the last
agree.
2 hours.
And I also learned for, you know, the past 1,500 years, for that matter,
Right.
since her name was
yeah.
slandered.
But I think we can agree that she went all the way off in this movie and she slayed.
She sure did. Did she commit suicide at the end?
She clapped back.
Oh, what, you mean like when she was underwater?
Yeah, what the
No,
fuck
I
was
don't
that
think-
about?
I think that was
Was
symbolism.
that like her mind?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like there was this like motif they played with where she was like, you know, sometimes I just like go underwater and just like feel myself floating. Like, is that what knowing God will be like? Like the feeling like weightless underwater. It was just like
Very
it was
American
this very
Beauty.
It was this very like heavy-handed like thing. Obviously, had nothing to do with the Bible at all. It was just like she liked to go swimming, like legit.
I think they shot that first just to like show the investors to like get them excited, get them juiced
Right.
up. And then they were like, what does this
They'll be
have to
like,
do with this
what
movie?
is this movie
Whatever.
about? And they're like, Mary
Whatever.
Magdalene. And they're like, here's the blank check.
Right.
Yep.
But Mary, where can we find you and your music online? Also, I'll link to it in the episode description either way. But if you could please tell everyone listening.
Yeah. So my Instagram is at want_Mary, and you can see my link in bio to go to all of my various places. Otherwise, because I've made it really hard to find my music, so you could go. So here's something you could do. You could type Mary into Spotify and then follow that up with a song title of mine. So I'll give you one, Mary, Goodbye to Romance, and that will lead you there.
Yes.
But if you just type in Mary, you will never find me.
That's true, but I appreciate the fact that you just like went straight to like the biblical archetype. Like you were like, fuck the SEO. Like I really just want to embody such
Yeah,
a
Jesus
it was the
didn't
only
need an
name I
SEO.
came up with.
Yeah.
What was that?
Jesus didn't need an SEO.
No.
No way.
But yeah, you love your music, beautiful voice, and your song "Oh My God" has been the outro of this podcast since we started, and
Which is such an honor. Thank you so much, boys, for having me on.
thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure. We'll have you back soon. And on our side of things, we would like to say anyone who enjoys our free episodes, please check out patreon.com/boysbiblestudy. If you subscribe for $5 a month or more, you get access to the 2 or more bonus episodes that we make every month. And you can immediately stream our full back catalog, almost a year's worth at this point of bonus episodes. So please join up and support us. Also, we want to shout out our very special patrons at the $20 tier, Nicole, Russell, Marissa, and Jeff. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your generosity as our patron saints. As I said, our outro music is Oh My God by Mary. Stream that on Bandcamp and Spotify. From all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, our special guest today, Mary, we would like to say, peace be with you.
And with you.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day